WOVU LP, Cleveland.
This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Hello and welcome to Open Door. I'm Vince Robinson and my guest is Chef Cassandra Lynne. She is taking part in a program called Keys to Healthy Lifestyle that is being presented by Rid-All Green Partnership as a collaboration between Urban Farm Doctors and Chef Cassandra Lynne. Welcome to Open Door.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So this beautiful program has been created. Tell me what you can tell me about the program.
The program is a 6-week Keys to Healthy Lifestyle, and it's running beginning June 5th, the 12th, the 19th, the 26th, July 3rd, and July 10th. And this is in collaboration with a grant funded by Key Bank, in partnership with Rid-All Green Partnership. And the other instructors, along with myself, are the Urban Farm Doctors, who are Carol Wilson White and her husband, Mark. And we have put together a program which helps introduce people to transforming their eating habits.
Okay, so it's about transformation within the culinary aspect of life.
Yes.
It's being sponsored by Rid-All Green Partnership, so I know that they grow produce there. What's the relationship between the food and the three entities that you mentioned?
Well, because we are located there on the farm giving the instruction, I'm pretty sure some of the fresh fruits and vegetables will come from on site, from what is available.
Okay. And is there going to be a component in that allows people to learn how to grow food?
We do have a component on week 2 with menu planning that the Urban Farm Doctors will be presenting, growing and sprouting your food. So there is a component on that.
Okay, so it's going to be one of the weeks that they'll talk about actually growing food.
Yes,
okay.
In week 2. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then what is your component going to involve?
So my component is week 3, and it curtails healthy breakfast success. So I will be going over low glycemic foods, smoothies and juices, protein-rich foods that are found in vegetables and nuts, and then showing people how they can put together juices, smoothies, and also for people who will be attending the class in person, they will get an opportunity to sample some of these things.
Okay, you mentioned in person, there's going to be a virtual component to this as well?
We do have a 20-person limit for in-person participation, and the registration will also be videotaping in.
Okay. And you mentioned at the top that there was a grant involved in this. Am I to assume that it's a free program?
It is a free program, so registration is free.
Okay, and to get registered, you would go to greenandghetto.org?
That's correct.
Okay. So in talking about your component, week 3 is going to be breakfast foods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're going to have another component, but talk about the importance of breakfast.
Well, it's how you start your day. We don't want to start our day on an empty tank. So we want to put some good fuel in our bodies to sustain us and get us started until our next meal. And so we can have our breakfast something light or something substantial, but we should always remember there are 3 keys in, I would like to, choosing a breakfast. Eat your water, eat the rainbow, and choose something that has some type of protein component, whether it be vegetables, nuts, seeds, or legumes.
Okay. And I guess another important aspect of those are the protein content and the things that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And you talk about healthy eating. I know some folks think that bacon, eggs, sausage, grits, and biscuits is healthy eating. I'm sure that you're probably not going to do it totally on a vegan basis, but can you talk about the benefit of perhaps readjusting and cutting back on some of the meat?
Sure. The first thing that you'll notice when you start eating foods that are more whole, and when I say whole, that means that they're not laden with a lot of preservatives or chemicals used to enhance the flavor or the appearance of foods. And with our meats in this particular society, they tend to add a lot of additives to it to preserve the shelf life on the meats. And maybe the meat is not the freshest, and maybe you're not getting the best cuts. And a lot of people are finding that moving away from eating meat as a main component with their meal, they're starting to feel better in their bodies. So I'm not advocating that everyone needs to let go of meat, because it's a very emotional attachment, especially if people have been eating it their whole lives. But there is a way to transition into eating less meat and maybe eventually no meat at all. Mm-hmm. But we want to make that transition as painless as possible for people, and to introduce them to ways of fixing food that they can really enjoy.
Okay. And what would that transition be? What does it look like? How do you make that happen?
The transition could be, say, with breakfast, instead of having that regular pork bacon, maybe you move to turkey bacon, or maybe you move to a tempeh, which is made from soybeans. So those are things that you can switch out from a meat product. And there are also a lot of different plant-based breakfast sausages available. If you just go to Whole Foods, and sometimes in your local stores like Giant Eagle or Mark's, you might find some of those products in there. I like to use an egg substitute, which is called Just Egg, and it's made with mung beans. And the consistency, when you scramble it like scrambled eggs, it tastes like scrambled eggs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's week 3. You have another week that you'll be responsible for, and I guess you're going to cover the other meals.
That will be the last week of the presentation, and just trying to go through my notes here. So what we'll be doing in the last week will be just summing up everything that we've learned in the preceding weeks, and we'll end it with planning a menu and making a delicious dinner.
Okay. And if you could fill in the blanks, I know your component is largely culinary, but can you talk about some of the other things as you summarize the 6-week program?
Some of the other things that we hope to accomplish really is an interest in offering more classes like this. The feedback from the community is very important. So the education component is really what we're hoping to grow an interest in. And because the farm is in the heart of our community, we hope that it will send a ripple effect, that eating healthy is affordable, it's accessible, and if you don't know how to do it, then we're available to teach you how to do it, and also to, maybe gently hold your hand along the process.
Okay. I know that you have gone through a transformation in terms of your diet. Can you talk about how you've benefited by making a transition from eating the things that you were eating before to eating the way that you're eating now?
Oh, sure. It was a conscious choice. I wanted to eat healthier. And the first thing that I let go of many years ago was eating pork. And as I became more educated about eating healthier foods, I let go of poultry and then seafood, dairy. I think the hardest thing for me was to let go of cheese, because at the time when I was making that transition, there were not a lot of vegan cheeses that were very tasty. But technology has advanced in so many ways past that. We have a variety of different vegan cheeses that are palatable and quite delicious. I noticed that my skin got clearer. I didn't have fog brain. It was easier to move in my body. My body felt more flexible. And of course, as an added benefit, if that's what you are seeking, you tend to drop some weight because your choices and food choices and fat components are different.
Okay. So it seems like there's something in there that would benefit someone who participates in it. It's called the Keys to Healthy Lifestyle. It's a 6-week program that's being sponsored by Ridall with the Urban Farm Doctors and Chef Cassandra Lynne. Chef Cassandra Lynne, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Folks want to take advantage of this program. How would you advise them to do so?
I would say go to the website, or you can go to Ghetto.
greenandghetto.org.
Yes, .org, and register for the class.
Okay. 6-week program. It's free. You want to take advantage of that. Go to greenandghetto.org on your favorite computer device, phone, tablet, or laptop, or desktop. Get there, register, take advantage of it, and learn how to eat healthy and maybe learn how to grow a few things along the way. Chef Cassandra, thanks for joining us on Open Door.
Thank you so much, Vince. Have a great day.
All right. Peace. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM WOVU, a Burton Bell-Carr community radio station. We'll be right back. What can you do in the battle against COVID-19? Your first task, wear a mask, protect yourself and others. Armor up, armor up. Give those hands a 20-second shower with soap and water. Armor up, armor up. Give others space 6 feet just in case. Armor up, armor up. Get good nutrition, ingest for digestion. Armor up, armor up. Vitamin C, D3, and more. Armor up, armor up. Elderberries, zinc, and echinacea from the store. Armor up, armor up. Get some fresh air. Go climb some stairs. Armor up, armor up. Let go of stress. Make sure you rest. Armor up, armor up. Your breath is the key to life. Strengthen your immune system, follow the guidelines, and win the battle against COVID-19.
Armor up, armor up.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, try Seeking Help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
Hello and welcome back to Open Door. I'm Vince Robinson, and I have been joined by Jada Renee, CEO of the Indi Group LLC. It is a media company, and she is a media mogul. Welcome to Open Door, Jada.
Thank you, Vince. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. And again, I always try to be transparent with my folks. So I will let everyone know that we are working together on a program for the Sculpture Center of Cleveland. You are the media specialist. You've been doing the social media stuff. It looks fantastic. Doing a bang-up job, and I know you are heavily immersed in that. We had a conversation earlier, and you told me that you had been doing this since the age of 19. I'm not going to say your age, but I'll just say that you have a few more years than that, but not many. So tell us how you got your start in media.
Oh, for sure. So let's see. I actually went to St. Martin de Porres High School here in Cleveland on St. Clair. And actually, while I was at school, I was actually just like the camera phone kid. So people used to just always know that if Jada was around, she's most likely going to take your picture or assemble you into some format to take a picture. And that was all through high school. I also played basketball. But if I wasn't playing basketball, I was literally taking pictures of my friends and like doing cool stuff with my camera phone. I'm also a MySpace baby. So I feel like prior to even being in high school, our generation was kind of already thrusted into the media world with like MySpace and just like how MySpace literally integrated our brains into understanding like code. The literally entry level, I would say, to coding was MySpace. So if you gravitated to MySpace and you really cared about having like, I guess, a creative eye and a creative hand and like how you represented your own page and represented yourself, and you got to pick your colors, do your own theme, make your literal page a theme background, and it would have a code, and you would have to literally go into that back office and code your website for your MySpace page. So with that, I could add, different widgets. Maybe I can make my cursor not be an arrow. I can make it be a fire flame or a $sign. Or I can maybe make my background color not be green. Maybe I want it to be blue and have waves in the background. So it was literally like our generation's introduction to coding. So I think that literally inspired my whole generation to be just interested in media. And then just like that at the same time with music media and fashion media, it was kind of like my generation got a burst of these just like media relations and media dealings at the same time. And I literally think that's what happened. Me just being a culture kid and a fan of the black culture and the arts, I think it just gravitated to me. And then after that, while studying that in high school, not really knowing I'm studying that, right, I'm just doing hobbies, like taking pictures of my friends off my iPhone. Or like even before the iPhone, because I remember before the iPhone, it was the iPod Touch. That was the first iPhone-esque thing that actually had a camera. So I had that. Prior to that, I had like just a slide-up phone. It wasn't even like it wasn't like a Sidekick. I think it was an AT&T. I forget the name of it, but it had like an awesome camera. So it literally looked like a camera when I would take photos. So that was a thing. And then that guided me, I guess, to want to know what I would do when I went to college, because actually St. Martin de Porres High School, they had a work study program, and the whole school was about basically getting you to understand the value of, working in a 9-to-5 and then transferring that like work ethic to go to college. So they prided themselves on like teaching kids how to understand how to go to work one day out of the week. So everybody who went to St. Martin de Porres basically had a job. Like you had to get assigned a job to work at an actual company, downtown Cleveland or maybe somewhere in Garfield, but like an actual corporation somewhere. And these all these companies had sponsorships with the school. So like you just got assigned. So I got assigned to, I think, a call center, 2 law firms, and then RTA, human resources. So those jobs, they were awesome, but I think they didn't inspire me to want to work. They inspired me to want to figure out how to not do that. because all of the jobs that, I was assigned to, it was, it was cool, I guess, to know I'm not in school for these hours or whatever, and I get a chance to just be, I guess, downtown and see all the people who work, but they don't look too happy. They don't look like they actually like working at these jobs and, companies. And even I'm in situations where I could be next to the CEO or next to the executive director of a company, but he still doesn't look like he's thrilled to do this work. So I took all that into account, and I just kind of didn't know I was going to be an entrepreneur, but I definitely think it fell into my brain on, like, how can I guide my life to not be unhappy, I guess, as I go into my adult life. Like, I was 17, 18, graduating high school. So I think my whole class and generation didn't really know what are we going to college for? Like, we're going, but like, for what? So it's like you come up with these reasons, and I think like art and making art was always my reason to just do anything. Because basketball was literally my thing. I think if I wouldn't have been doing what I'm doing now, I probably would have been a very serious athlete, because I was a serious athlete. Anybody who knew me prior to any art knew me as basketball Jada, literally. So if it wasn't basketball, you didn't really see me. So this whole art thing is new to a lot of people, especially people in Cleveland, because I didn't really show my artistic talent at high school. I was really just showing y'all basketball. But now I think those people who I was in high school with, they looked at the college introduction to me, because the college introduction is where everybody saw like indie arts collaborations and all the growth. So I think that led into itself after I got to Kent State and realized like there's no guiding system to really tell me or my generation what it is going to make us successful. It's kind of just like pick one, but that's not helping me. It's so much to pick from. How do I know that whatever I pick is going to be the most successful? And you're not helping me. That's why you gave me all these options to pick from, so that I could confuse myself. So college didn't make me want to figure out, I guess, how to graduate and get into the workforce, which is what, the school wanted me to do, the high school. It literally told me that the world is not really going to help you. Like, they not going to assist you to figure out what you want to do with your life. So if you are going to be here at college and spend these 4 years here, you better figure out how to keep listening to yourself, tell yourself that this art thing is going to work. Because I didn't know what and why I kept coming back to art. It was literally just like, do this basketball stuff, I'm pretty good. Literally go home, I create clothing line. Don't have a brand, it wasn't Indi, but I'm creating literally like clothes. I'm drawing hoodies, I'm drawing jeans, I'm drawing shorts. I had like this infatuation with skate culture. So I was always drawing skateboard kids with skateboard clothes, matching them up with skateboards, like right after basketball practice. Or I'll do basketball practice and come home and paint outside. These are things nobody knew that I was doing. Or I'll literally go do a whole basketball game, come home and literally rearrange my room. Move my bed from one side of the room to the other side. My dresser, my mom downstairs like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm rearranging my room. I can't go to sleep like this. But it's just the concept of space. Like, I like to manipulate space. So that's all just like coming into the makings of Jada, to where I get to college and it's just like, oh, pick a major. I mean, I guess I'll pick electronic media. I've been taking phone photos of my friends for 4 years, but it's like when you get to college, I'm 28 now. So it's like, now I think about it even in talking, like, who knows what they want to do when they get to college? When you get to that first academic session with that academic advisor, it's just like, I don't know. But they don't let you be honest in that effort. It's literally like, oh, you don't know? I'm going to tell you. Or, I don't know. Well, you better figure it out, and that puts pressure on you too. Because, I mean, you're not thinking about the fact that I just got out of high school, or that I just might not know because of culture. We don't teach our Black, minds to understand the value of figuring out what you want to do. You just go to school. That's not teaching me nothing, though, because what if they're not teaching me about myself and my value? I still don't know what I want to do. So all of that goes into, everything that kind of forced me into doing this, because I was just like, well, I'm not getting the answers from basically being in this major, because I kind of already know what to do. Like, they're teaching me stuff that I kind of taught myself how to do in high school on my cell phone. So I was just like, okay, the most I'll listen to in terms of what I got from that major was buying the software, and then I switched my major to communications because I figured I know how to communicate off rip. I don't want to waste no more time or money. Show me how to communicate better, and then I'll figure it out. So once I got deeper into my communications major, I was just like, okay, every friend that I've made for maybe the first 3 months has told me that they came here for something artsy or music oriented, and they switched it based on what their parents told them to major in. And I was just like, that sucks. Just one, because everybody, like, I'm an artist, so I know I attract a lot of artist friends. So these artist friends around me, this is all they do as well. But if we're at college for 4 years doing something else, what are we doing? Like, we're not going to be happy or successful chasing whatever dream that it's not even our dream. So literally, I have all these conversations with students who, you know, just don't know like what they want to do. And all these people were like either artists, like visual artists, or like just people who are trying to figure out how to like be musicians and how to start being musicians in college, or people who are trying to figure out, hey, where do black people go to just be? Where do we just go to be artists and be black in Kent, Ohio? It's really nowhere. So I started just being like that person, like that point of contact to just create. Like I created the brand one day, just I had an opportunity to go to Africa. Like it was literally like my second semester at Kent State. I got an opportunity to go to Africa. My aunt, she's an attorney, and she had some collaboration dealings with a nonprofit in Atlanta called the Keno Foundation. And they were basically like offering for like 2 weeks to take students to Africa to teach them how to be entrepreneurs. And she didn't tell me that part. All she told me that she needed a photojournalist on the trip. And everybody, like I said, everybody knew me from just doing photos. Jada is the photo girl. Like, you get Jada if you want to take your photos. No one knew I was like into nothing else but basketball and photos. So when she asked me that, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. My mom was like, you're not going to Africa. I'm like, why not? She's like, you can't go to Africa by yourself. So my auntie basically convinced her to let me go. That was my first flight I ever took in my life, to Africa. That was my first flight. So got my passport. We actually had to fly to Atlanta first, and we got to Africa from Atlanta. And that was a 16-hour flight. So that was like the first time I ever was on a plane, all of that. It actually happened so fast. So I get to Africa, and like we're doing workshop sessions for like once a day. Like every day is something different. But it's all around business, entrepreneurship, and understanding like how Africa's market is for business and how their kids learn in terms of education and what the infrastructure of South Africa needs versus Botswana. Because like we went to South Africa and Botswana. South Africa is more, you know, like here, like what we see in Cleveland, which is what they don't tell you. Africa is literally just like here. It's, you know, funded properly. It's beautiful. We actually stayed in palaces. I stayed in nothing short of a palace. We had servants. We had land. I saw giraffes in my backyard.
Wait a minute.
I swear.
You saw giraffes.
We had a golf course, and there were giraffes on the back of our... That's amazing to me. This was just the estate where we stayed. Like,
Okay, we're gonna get back to Africa when we come back from this break. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM WOVU. My guest is Jada Renee. She is the CEO of the Indi Group LLC, and we're going to talk more about the Indi Group and adventures in South Africa when we come back.
The Alcohol and Drug Addiction and Mental Health Services Board, also known as the Adams Board of Cuyahoga County, wants everyone to stay safe. If the stress of the pandemic is overwhelming, help is available. Call the 24-hour crisis hotline at 216-623-6888. That's 216-623-6888. If you are using drugs, remember all drugs may contain the highly addictive substance fentanyl. Please test your drugs and never use drugs alone. Carry Narcan in case you are witness to an overdose. And call the 24-hour crisis and referral hotline when you are ready for help. It's 216 216-623-6888. Again, it's 216-623-6888. This message is brought to you by the Adams Board of Cuyahoga County and WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Yes.
You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson and my guest, Jada Renee, CEO of the Indi Group, LLC. She went from St. Martin de Porres High School in the Cleveland area to a program that came out of Kent State University, and she found herself in South Africa on this fabulous estate, looking at giraffes through her window. Let's pick it up from there.
So basically, like I said, I was invited to go to Africa for an entrepreneur trip. And basically, like I said, we stayed in palaces. We saw things that, you don't see what you see on TV in Africa. That's not true. Everything is marketed to basically deter you from, going and seeing what is, your history. And so it's just like when you have an open mind and opportunity to see it, it's literally like mind blowing because you've never seen it before. So I think that was probably the freshest air I've ever breathed, and I need to figure out how to go back and take as many kids necessary. But basically, we were learning how to understand their economy. We were learning to understand their education system. And during the time I was there, we basically did different workshops to teach us how to, operate a business if we were to ever start a business. So like I said, I was really just a photojournalist. So I was, scheduled to take pictures of everybody and just be kind of behind the scenes. But whenever they would talk about business, I just had all these questions because it was just like all of the students who were on the trip were my age and all of the chaperones were their parents. And I was just like, what? And their parents all were business owners. And I just had some questions because I'm just like, I just want to know, what you guys got into, how'd you get into it? How has it been able to be successful? How I've never, been around what I was probably maybe 20 at the time. Yeah, 19 or 20. So I hadn't been around people my age who literally had, parents who didn't have a 9-to-5. Like that's not a thing. Like people, you just go to work. All my friends' parents from downtown, everybody literally downtown parents. Like, I've never seen it, and they're black kids, so it was very inspiring, and they're all from Atlanta. So that was like a whole inquiry in itself, and I'm asking all these chaperones, literally, it's people talking to me for like hours on this trip about what they do, and I was just very inspired. And then by maybe the third or fourth session, I thought I was going to keep taking photos, and they literally made me get in and start doing the business plan activity. And they said, you have a lot of questions and we feel like you should just jump in. So if you feel like you don't understand anything, just ask. Because I had never seen a business plan. It was a mock business plan activity. You basically had to create, if you were to create a business, what would it be? What would be your mission statement? How would your business make money? All that. So I never thought about it. And I think this was actually the first day where I actually knew what an intuition was, or like that voice inside of you that actually speaks. Because I heard myself tell myself Indi. It was a paper, like a packet, and the first line literally said, what would be your business name? And then said, what would be your business mission? And for the business name, I heard Indi. And I'm like, what is Indi? And then I heard myself say individuality, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And then the second line is, mission statement, and I'm like, okay, well, what's my mission statement? Like, to myself, like, what's my mission statement? And then, like, I'm hearing myself, like, your mission is to help basically my tagline is inspire the uninspired. So your mission is to help the uninspired artists find their art, find their voice. So I'm taking that back to what I was saying when I met all my friends at Kent State. A lot of these friends were literally trying to find their voice. So when you kind of come in a society like this one, where you kind of get a lot of stuff thrown at you, badgered at you, when you're a student or an art student or just somebody who might just have inquisitive thoughts, you might not be quick enough for society to answer or quick enough to move. But that don't mean that you don't know what you're doing. So with that, I think the stifling of that scared a lot of my friends on literally jumpstarting that, whatever it would have been for them. So those conversations I had with those friends literally inspired me to help figure out how do we help artists who literally are in this generation, who think like us, to not be scared, to be ourselves? Because if we don't, in our generation right now, take that initiative to be the rebel, it stops. Like, I feel like our generation was the last of the Mohicans to actually say, yeah, no, we cool. I'm not doing that. I'm actually fine doing this, and I'll stay fine doing this.
So your experience in high school was having an awareness of the fact that there was more to life than just doing a job. And I think it seems like you made up your mind at that point that I don't want to be that person that just goes to work every day and does this job and it has no entrepreneurial aspect to it. And then you go to South Africa and you participate in this 2-week program, and it wakes up the entrepreneur in you. And then you come back and it seems as though perhaps your mission is to let others know, hey, you don't have to be locked down like this. When you talk about being an artist, many times being an artist and being a business person, they don't gel. Because you're a creative, but you may not have that accountant's hat, or you may not have that marketing hat. You just want to go to your room and create what you create. How do you address the disparity in those two ideas, being an artist and an entrepreneur?
I think that everybody has it in them, because I think that we as a collective have literally let that whole starving artist notion seep into our subconscious, and it deters you from wanting to jump out and actually start. So that fear alone is a stifling fear that will literally make you not think that you can make profit as an artist. So it's literally changing the way that I think. Like, I start with myself as an example, literally, because I am the example. So I have to, like, train myself to say to myself all the time, like, I'm already this person. You call me a mogul. I was calling myself a mogul at 7. So it must have manifested. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't attract anything that I'm not. And I know that money is necessary. So if I'm going to be an artist, I have to be a profitable artist. I have to make money off my art and my work, and myself in this entity in flesh is the art. So I have to be able to set that up at a standard that you don't compare it to anything less than what I set it up for. Because if I was a white person with a white background and a white art collective supporting me and a white whatever that may be, the whole narrative of this interview will be totally different. So it's the standard, it's the stigma that they put up. We didn't do that. We were already flourished. We were already profitable. We were already gods and goddesses. We have just unfortunately been diminished in society. So society is the construct that has literally squeezed our creativity out of believing in ourselves, simply because the answer is simply, I believe in myself. I believe in myself deeper than anybody could tell me they believe in me. I believe in myself. I know I'm going to do this. I know I have a mission. I know that my soul is very, very deliberate in being inside of my body. So I have a mission, and I don't have any negativity to give myself, because it wouldn't allow me to be myself. So the answer is really, how do you talk to yourself? Because if everybody else told you you're not a good artist, you don't have to listen. If someone tells you that they don't like your art, you don't have to believe them, because it's really about you. Do you believe that you can be a profitable artist? Do you want to be a starving artist? Because if you don't, then you don't have to be.
You know, that brings up another point, and that is the value of art, you know, and it goes both ways, because sometimes if you don't value yourself enough, then you don't value your art enough to express what it is really worth. You know, that's a big problem. But the other side to that is that others don't really understand the value of your art either. Mm-hmm. So you could be this fantastic artist who has a painting that should be worth $1 million.
Exactly.
You know, but people they can't fathom that piece of art could be worth $1 million.
Exactly.
You know, so I guess it brings us to the question of, how do you appropriately price and value your art?
Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's all in the market. Like, one of my favorite artists, like, I think my favorite artist is Basquiat. Like, Basquiat is literally the definition of a black artist. because he was just himself. And the money, I would say, and the efforts, I would say, literally came to him. Like, Basquiat and his whole effort was not really to put himself on as an artist. He was just being an artist. Like, the most he did, just from me watching interviews, was literally, you know, stand outside of a restaurant for Andy Warhol. That's the most that he did. And after that, I mean, Andy Warhol took that and, like, took him literally around New York City and opened him up. So I think it's literally you have to have some type of eagerness about yourself to put yourself out there. Because if you don't put yourself out there, then yeah, no one's going to know what's going on. Like, I can't expect, just especially as an artist, I can't expect for my stuff or myself or my collaborations or my anything that I do to be the end all be all. Because there's so many people who have a version of indie media, but they not me. And I got to know that. It's so many people that want to be doing the technique style of art that Basquiat does, but you can never be Basquiat. You can't. So that's what it is. It's that you can call it bravado, you could call it just angst, I guess, but it's just knowing the value of yourself, because you're creating the art. So if you know the value of your art, then you have to have the energy to put it out. And if you put it out, you got to know where I'm putting it. Like it's a personal perspective of you. If I'm making a certain type of fine art, I know that if I walk into these contemporary art galleries, they might not go for what I'm doing. But if I walk into the fine art galleries, they might receive me better. But it's just, you can't be scared. Like, you can't be scared, because that's the entrepreneurship route. Like, no one's gonna drag you along until you put yourself out there. If you put yourself out there first, you have no clue what could happen. But that's the challenge in itself. You don't want to be, well, you can do what you want, but you don't want to be in a situation where you have all this creative energy and you just have the same amount of fear. Because that literally, like, that fear is going to swallow all that energy and you'll just stay inside of yourself. So that's what I would say. Okay.
This is a very serious subject matter, and I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation, and I'm hopeful that folks who listen to this interview will be able to appreciate the value of the art and of the artist. I know that there's definitely a deficit of understanding when it comes to appreciating art. We had a conversation earlier today, and you became aware of the African American Museum. After 28 years in Cleveland, you finally hear that it's there.
I never knew it existed.
Exactly. So I see just a great opportunity for some intergenerational exchange, and I was happy to connect you with the executive director of the African American Museum so that they can take advantage of and benefit from the energy that comes from a young person like you, and I'll just say this, I'm really happy to see that there are folks like you doing what you do, because it really does make a difference. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Jada Renee, and she is the CEO of Indi Media, the Indi Media Group, LLC. We're going to be back to talk about some of the things that she's doing in Cleveland, her clothing line, the work she's doing for the Sculpture Center, and a few other things when we come back. This is 95.9 FM, WOVU, a Burton Belcar community radio station.
Breaking news from the WOVU newsroom.
Hello, I'm Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. Throughout the state of Ohio, there are good, law-abiding citizens making a positive impact on their communities who want to do more. But something stands in their way.
Has a conviction hindered your opportunities for a better life? Have you gone at least 10 years without a conviction in Ohio? Has your clemency application been delayed? If so, you may qualify for the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project. Governor Mike DeWine is teaming up with the University of Akron School of Law and the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law to help reformed individuals receive pardons more quickly than the traditional process. You can find more information about the project and learn how to submit a free application at ohioexpeditedpardon.org or governor.ohio.gov. To qualify, you must not have any disqualifying offenses, have no convictions, or serve time within the last 10 years, excluding minor traffic violations, made efforts to satisfy requirements of sentencing, a history of volunteering or community service, and a work history or reasonable circumstances for being unemployed. Don't wait to take control of your life. Governor DeWine encourages you to apply for the Expedited Pardon Project because he believes that a past conviction should not cost you forever. Once again, please visit ohioexpeditedpardon.org or governor.ohio.gov for more information on how to submit a free application. That again is ohioexpeditedpardon.org or governor.ohio.gov.
My Expedited Pardon Project will benefit Ohioans who are living in the shadow of a long past and regretted mistake, giving them the opportunity to truly have a second chance to reach their full potential.
This breaking news is from the WOVU Newsroom.
Want a rewarding career with great pay and benefits? How about job security? Well, the City of Cleveland's Division of Police is currently accepting applications for patrol officers. And in the dynamic field of law enforcement, we are continuously changing and progressing while dispensing 21st century constitutional and fair policing. Call 216-623-5233 to speak with our recruiters or go to governmentjobs.com/careers/Cleveland. Apply today.
This message is brought to you by the City of Cleveland and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voice is united, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
We're back on Open Door with Vince Robinson with my guest, Jada Renee, CEO of the Indi Group, LLC, a media moguldom right here in Cleveland, Ohio. So before we took the break, we were just talking about the relationship of art to artists and dispelling the whole notion that you have to be starving in order to be an artist. And we've also talked about the value of art to the artist and to the community. You are doing some very meaningful things in the art world right now, and one of them is what I referenced at the beginning of the show in this project called From the Cleveland Sculpture Center, and I'll let you, tell us about it.
So Crossroads is a project coming from the Sculpture Center and artist Robin Robinson of Sankofa, and they're basically putting augmented reality in Cleveland. So if you don't know what augmented reality is, it's literally like the reality that you cannot see is augmented. So basically how it works in terms of being able to see this reality, we're putting in an art form. There's been 12 artists selected to create these amazing works of art that will be generated into augmented reality format, and you'll be able to basically see what the different artists have created at different site locations by downloading an app that will give you the opportunity to take a photo of the art piece, and then you'll be able to actually see it on your phone. But if you're just standing there in real life, or maybe driving by in real life, you can't see that image.
Right. So if you use your phone, it provides you access to actually view that piece of art. For sure. The app that you're speaking of is called Fourth Wall. It's the number 4, TH and WALL. And you upload this app to your phone, and you'll be able to go to 12 different locations and see this visual representation. And they're also going to have an exhibition at the Sculpture Center itself. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So the exhibition will be opening in July, and basically it's gonna be, hopefully there'll be a route to actually take all of the different people who are interested to actually see the different locations, but you'll end up at the Sculpture Center, and everyone's art who's been selected will be represented at the Sculpture Center. Okay.
I'm happy to say that I'm one of the artists who has been chosen for this. Yes. And I have some very esteemed colleagues, including Donald Black Jr. and Edward Parker. They're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. One is an elder, one is a young person. Both have done very meaningful things in the art world. Robin Robinson has done a great job of curating this. And, Gina Washington is another one of the artists. I can't remember all of the names, but I will just say go to the website, find out who's in it, and find out where those locations are, and you'll be able to see those things. So what was your role in this project?
My role for Crossroads so far has been to do the social media curation, and that has that's included me basically handling the social media marketing doing a few graphics, taking a few photos of the sites. Right now I'm actually in the midst of taking the rest of the site photos. So like all artists, you know, they have their art at specific sites. So I'm going to all 12 sites, getting some photos and video, and I'm really just in charge of branding this entire, you know, campaign until we roll it out in July. So July 16th, between July 16th and September 25th, the actual exhibition will be, you know, in progress. But obviously up until July, we have to promote, right? We have to get everybody who's involved, you know, we have to promote their art. We have to tell the city that this is happening. We have to collaborate with as many organizations as possible so that everyone knows, you know, what's going on, especially because augmented reality is a new thing in Cleveland. And a lot of people may just, you know, not know simply what augmented reality is. And then fusing that into the art form is a big deal. So we kind of got to get people to understand why it's such a big deal.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So in addition to that, you also mentioned that you have a clothing line.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. Yes. So our clothing line is called Indi, just INDI. And Indi stands for individuality. Indi was actually the first leg of my brand that I started at college. So I knew I wanted to have a media company, and I started everything as a media company. Like the Indi Group LLC is an official media company. But when I started it at Kent State, I knew that everybody at Kent State wasn't really used to entrepreneurs or seeing entrepreneur or just even knowing what that was. But Kent State, I mean, as you might know, is number 3 for their fashion school. So a lot of people at Kent State know about fashion. So I figured if I can come up with a clothing line first, that will be literally the first driving point to market my brand to these people at Kent State. Because, I mean, if you're familiar with Kent State, you know that we're number 3 for our fashion school. So literally, it's always some nice looking people at Kent with some nice looking clothes and some awesome energy. And those people are usually into art and fashion. So if they're into art and fashion, I got this cool clothing line. I'm literally a student here. I think my designs are pretty cool. So people were literally gravitating towards the brand. So I was using some of the people from our fashion school as models. I would take some of their photos in our merchandise. I was selling this merchandise in my apartment. I basically lived off campus. I stayed on campus the first year, but then every year after that, I was off campus. So I would, you know, market my clothing line. I would have house parties. I would literally sell the clothes in my room, have different people, you know, coming through. Maybe I would have a photo shoot. I would have the clothes there. I was always selling the clothes. And that was literally my strategy to focus on that fashion aspect of Kent State to blow up the clothing line. So once I did that, we actually got the clothing line to an artist who I actually like. I don't know if anybody listening is familiar with Tyler, the Creator, or Nipsey Hussle, but the brand basically got big enough based on our marketing in college to go to Tyler, the Creator's camp. He's a rapper and an artist based out of Los Angeles, and his conglomerate is called Odd Future. So once Odd Future got the merchandise, they gave it to their DJ, Sia the Kid. She's a well-known artist. They actually have a band called the Internet Band. So they actually took the Black Indie hoodie on tour. Their tour was called the Ego Death Tour, and it was actually the name of their first album. So they took that hoodie on tour, and we followed them on social media while they were on the tour, and literally every band member from the Internet Band wore that hoodie while on this tour. And actually, we seen them in person. We saw them in Cleveland when they stopped. This was back in like 2016. When they got to Cleveland, their drummer was wearing the hoodie. And we got to see him at the Grog Shop. And I was like, yo, that's the hoodie. And it was like, yo. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. That happened. And then after that, the next celebrity to want our merchandise was actually Lena Waithe. I don't know if anybody knows about Lena Waithe from The Shy and Master of None and just a lot of awesome stuff that Lena Waithe has done. She's a writer and a producer. But her team actually wanted access to our merchandise. We roll out a lot of different slogans on our T-shirts and our hoodies that have to do with mental health. So we have a brand called Be Happy, and then we have a brand called F Anxiety. And the F Anxiety brand is really kind of giving you some energy to combat anxiety and combat that negative connotation that it gives you, and just say, you know, F it. Go through it. Do whatever you got to do. And having that on your shirt gives you some energy throughout your day if you really suffer with anxiety. So she got wind of our campaign, and she asked if we could send her a F Anxiety hoodie, and we did. And then that was the second person. And after that, Nipsey Hussle got our brand. And we brought Nipsey Hussle here in 2018 for Cleveland Votes. We basically did a panel talking about criminal justice reform and just the value of, knowing your rights and understanding as a black person what to do and what not to do. And he basically came from Los Angeles to talk about gang violence, and he talked about a few stories that, he was, in terms of the police, he talked about that. He talked about his views, and then after that, we saw him wearing one of the hoodies that we gave him. Like, TMZ caught a photo of him in the airport. We still don't know if it was Los Angeles' airport or Cleveland's airport, but he was rocking our black classic Indi hoodie. So, yeah, the clothing line is something actually, here's the photo. The clothing line is actually something that I actually really, 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 really care about. It's like my newborn baby, because without the clothing line, nothing from the Indi brand would have started.
Yes. So in essence, you have a national footprint, or really an international footprint, because everybody knows and watches what happens in the United States. There are people around the world who know of Nipsey Hussle just based on what happened with him. So It has to be really gratifying for you to know that you've been able to have the reach that you've had as an entrepreneur and as a designer. Mm-hmm. You also are involved in web design. Talk about that.
Yeah, so basically I can create websites for, almost any brand. I wouldn't say that I'm a coder, because I don't code, but I can literally brand whatever website in terms of just like the actual design, the template, whatever you may need in terms of jumpstarting your brand. If you need a one-pager, if you need a full-fledged, website, I can, do that. These are things that I was self-taught. Like I told you guys, basically that MySpace culture taught our generation how to use the computer, like no lie. So within that, I'm being as serious as I can be. We taught ourselves everything in terms of content creation. The word content creation came from our generation creating content. They didn't have that word 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Content creation was not a thing. Social media wasn't even a thing. So, yeah.
Okay. So as we have this conversation, I want you to think about your vision for the future with respect to the empowerment of artists and getting more people to understand what you do and how the world can benefit. Just based on what you said about, the healing aspect of that T-shirt, effing anxiety, for instance. When we talk about healing, we always want to default to medical institutions, but artists also play a crucial role in facilitating healing in our society. So talk about your hope for the future with reference to that.
My hope for the future in terms of, I guess you could say, healing is understanding that we are the healing. Like, I think that for some reason the society wants to take us away from knowing the value of ourselves. Like, we are art within its entirety. Like, even if you don't claim yourself as an artist or a person that can do art, or I can't draw, like, you being here and breathing, you're art. Like, that's that. So I think if we can know that first, then we can know that we are the access to the healing. The healing is already within us. It's just a lot of trauma that has been embedded in us through several, situations and things and all those things. But, even still, with knowing all of that, I find peace in knowing that I'm an artist and that I am the art. So I think if our community could come to a sense of connectedness and understand that, we're totally better together than we are apart, then the whole notion of that starving artist notion, having anxiety as a black collective, the fear of being an artist or stepping out on, your faith, I think those things wouldn't exist, because if we can know that we're already the art, we're already the canvas, then we would know that we have those tools to create. Okay, we have just a couple of seconds left. If you could shout out your social media so folks can reach Jada Renee. Yes, okay, so my website is www.theindigroup.com. That's THEINDIGROUP.com. Then my Instagram is indi.media, so INDI.media. And then I'll give you guys our Indi Shop Instagram, where you can get our merchandise. So that is indishop.co, so INDI indishop.co, and that's also the official website for our clothing, indishop.co.
Okay, Jada, Renee, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me on Open Door.
Yes, thank you for having me, Vince.
All right, and thank you to the listening audience for listening. Know that you can reach this on my YouTube channel at a future point in time, just in case you can't tune in at 11 o'clock on Monday mornings. You've been listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your best day. Peace.